Welcome to Tuesdays with Tom, a Procurious podcast series featuring exclusive insights from Tom Derry, CEO of the Institute for Supply Management. The topic of today's podcast is Leadership X Factor. Procurious founder Tanya Siri will discuss with Tom the common traits shared by top CPOs around the world, top tips for first-time team leaders in supply management, and how to demonstrate leadership even if you don't have a team. Over to you, Tom and Tanya.
Tom, one of the many things that I've admired about ISM is the leadership, obviously yourself, that goes without saying, but also the members of your board. You have the CPOs of Starbucks, MGM Resorts, DuPont, Pinterest, all very high-profile CPOs who are setting an example to others in the profession and obviously working closely alongside you to guide the profession. So today I'd really like to talk about some of the wisdom that you've picked up throughout your career about leadership, and I guess with a specific focus on your time at ISM, but really leadership is perennial. So, if we get started, both you and I have met hundreds of CPOs over the years. Have you observed some common leadership traits or a certain X factor shared by those top CPOs?
Yeah, I think I have, Tanya, and I think the one that really stands out is seeing beyond the function. The best leaders really see the whole business and how what they're doing relates to the strategy of the firm, its competitive positioning, and then how that manifests itself could be different, but it also, most frequently manifests itself in a real concern for their people, because those leaders we all admire understand that they get to where they are and get the performance they need on the strength of their team. So they're always focused on their team. How am I building them? What roles are evolving? What skills do I need now? So they understand
almost
the big picture.
Obsessive, isn't it? Some of the best people are almost obsessed with their people. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I love it. Okay, so that is the key headline here. CPOs just become obsessed with your team because, I couldn't agree more. You can only get results through having the best team. You can't do it all yourself. So, there's this huge multiplier effect, isn't there, when you have the right people who take accountability.
No question. Hans Malott is a great example. I had the privilege of being in London last month to watch Hans Malott receive a Lifetime Achievement Award in Europe, and in the brief set of remarks that he had to present at the end of this gala, this nice evening, he had three big themes. He said, listen, as far as I'm concerned, what led to the recognition that he was receiving that night, he said, was think big, think business, and think people. I think that sums it up, right?
Yeah, I love it. Okay, then. So one of the trending discussions on Procurious is about how, if it's your first time as a leader, how do you manage it? What are some top tips? Do you have anything for first-time leaders that you'd like to share?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to suggest that there's a really important thing people need to understand even before that opportunity, because I think the opportunity to lead people, in my experience, flows from this. There's a CEO I met not too long ago here in the United States, and one of the mantras they have within their company is, you're not a leader if you don't have followers. And if you think about that implication for a minute, we all know people in our workplaces who have followers, who aren't formally leaders of the people who are their followers. But they're respected, they're prepared, they've done their homework, they have data to support their arguments, they're affable and friendly, and people just like being with them. They're seen as authentic, and then they have followers. And it's those people who then get the opportunity to manage teams, in my experience. Now, I think the key to the first time as managing a team, and I've always done this, and I think it's a good practice, is listening. I spend the first period of time sitting down in one-on-one, face-to-face interviews with my team and ask them in an unguided way, hey, what's going on? What do you like about what you're doing? What could improve what you're doing? What issues are we facing? What opportunities do we have? And get it all on the table. But it's important to respond if you ask for input, you have to show, and this is a critical leadership skill, you have to show that not only did you ask for the input, but you reacted to it. So then there's a plan. There's a way of showing the people, this is what I heard, right? And these are the themes we're going to focus on as a group. And the last piece of, to really make it a tight circle, I think, is in a visual way, a document of some kind or a graphic, show people the plan, the outcome from what that listening was, what we've agreed to focus on as a team, what our measures of success are going to be, so they can track it. Now you've heard what the issues are or the opportunities, you've identified a plan to go after that, and you show people that you've got a management system that shows the progress we're making against it and allows us to monitor the progress. I mean, I think that could be replicated at any size business or any scale. And it seems pretty simple, but you'd be surprised how often it isn't actually implemented.
Absolutely. There's a couple of points there I'd love to pick up on. One is the listening, and when we've talked previously, we've been talking about people moving around and walking around, leadership by foot, if you like, and I think that's a great tip to remind everyone when we're talking about your first 30 or 100 days is, really get out there and see your stakeholders. If you've got manufacturing facilities, get on the floor, go out and visit your key suppliers and understand them. I think there can be nothing more powerful than listening in that way. I guess the second point I wanted to pick up on that I'd like to turn into a question is this idea leadership if you don't have a team. And I've seen some really powerful examples of people who report into the CFO, the CEO, but they don't have a team. And yet they're extremely powerful sort of commercial advisors that move around the business. And I think this could be a model, under Industry 4.0 where, these are senior commercial relationship advisors. So I guess the question within all of that is, how can someone demonstrate leadership if they don't have a team?
Well, I think it's by demonstrating the skills that are respected. In my conversation, do I demonstrate that I understand the strategy of the company, and do I understand the strategy of my competitors, right? And therefore, can I recommend actions that would position us to be most successful? Can I drive financial outcomes and results? Do I understand? Do I have a clear-headed view of our weaknesses and our vulnerabilities? And can I craft a plan to address those, without getting emotional about it? Every person, every business has got areas they have to work on. But a lot of us sometimes fail to take a clear-headed assessment of, what are my vulnerabilities and what are my organization's vulnerabilities and how am I acting on those? And then ultimately it's about delivering results. So the people who commit to delivering a certain outcome and then ultimately do it and can demonstrate it, they get the next opportunity to do that because they have a track record of success. I mean, those are some of the key areas that enable a person to exercise that kind of authority.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's a few nuggets of advice for everyone on today's podcast. And, I really look forward to some discussion and hearing back from our listeners on their experience and any advice they have for the rest of the global procurement community.
I guess we should follow our own advice, right? And listen.
Exactly.
Listen to the feedback.
Exactly. Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you, Tom, and I look forward to our next discussion.
Always a pleasure, Tanya. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to our Tuesdays with Tom podcast, powered by Procurious and ISM. Stay tuned for more podcasts in this series, which will be made available for streaming in the learning area on Procurious.com.